Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my friends. This is Dylan with Tucson Future Classics, and that is our battered Buick, the 2005 LeSabre. Where do I even start on this absolute unit of a car? Well, it is a three-owner car. Most all of its life was here in Arizona, originally coming out of California. First two owners did quite good maintenance on it. Third owner did some mainten-ish. So when we got it, we went through and did all of the periodic maintenance and preventative maintenance owner number 3 didn't do, because these things are notoriously stalwart powertrains. In fact, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, well-regarded conspiracy theory about GM killing them because they weren't making enough in aftermarket parts sales and repair income for their dealers. But that's a whole nother story. This one, we went through and did everything. Brake pads, rear air shocks, tie rod ends, inner and outer, almost every rubber suspension bushing on the car, motor mounts, transmission mounts, new front A-arms, a four-wheel alignment, just for all the squishy bits. And then mechanically, we did the ignition control module and a coil pack because it came to us missing on cylinders 1 and 4. Engine oil and filter, transmission fluid and filter, engine air filter, and cabin air filter. Just to make sure that this thing is mechanically as good as it can be, because if you do things like that, these don't die. It's a GM sedan built in the old way. You start with an air conditioner, you throw a couch in the middle, and then you build a car around it. It goes down the road super comfortably, the AC blows cold, and it comes pre-dented. If you're getting a car for a kid's first car and you know they're gonna crash it in the first 20 minutes, boom, pre-dented. You wanna go drive like a hooligan or push around some shopping carts or park in sketchy places, boom, pre-dented. There's no greater luxury in a car than a car that you don't have to care about its appearance. And if you've watched so far into this video, you care about the mechanicals on this car. And that's what we're about to get into. So let's get under the hood, in the car, and out for a drive. Here you all go, up under the power barn, under the hood of that 05 LeSabre. That is the 3800 Series 2 V6. Now there are only two things that can really hurt these motors. First, right down there, those coolant elbows. From the factory, they are plastic. This has been upgraded with the aluminum ones. And in order to do that, the intake manifold has to come off, which gives you an awesome opportunity to take care of the only other real problem with these, which is the factory intake manifold gaskets. So this was definitely mechanically cared about before we got it from at least some of its 3 owners. See, everything under here looks quite clean, and even this has had coolant flushes done before, because that is a flush plug that you can screw a garden hose into and back flush the coolant system to keep it clean and running well. Quick overview of everything under here though. This is your big coolant reservoir here, fuse box here, washer fluid right there. The new coil packs and ignition control module are there. Pressure belt, good alternator on it. You've got your brake fluid there, your transmission fluid dipstick is there. Up in front, you check your oil here, you add your oil here, and this is the engine air filter on it. It is a big engine bay, so everything is pretty darn accessible underneath. In the trunk, you either use the key on the back or you push the trunk release here on the driver's door. Now that back pops automatically up because it is spring loaded, we can look in our 3-body trunk. It is nothing spectacular, just a big open trunk, and the previous owner even has a full-size new tire mounted on a spare steel wheel for this thing, ready to go. These came with donuts, which would have sat under there, but they put a full size in here, so one less thing you have to worry about. Climbing into the back seats of the LeSabre here, you'll see I lied when I first said GM starts with a couch. They start with 2. This is just squishy, pillowy, foamy goodness. There's not a lot going on back here. You've got your child seat anchors down below, your big top tethers on the deck lid there, and you even get a cup holder. Now I'm gonna spin the camera around, because what this lacks in amenities or features, it makes up for in comfort. I mean, I'm 6'1", 270 pounds, and that seat is all the way back. I've got a ton of squish. In fact, hang on. Look, it's on bounce. Whole car wiggles, and there it goes. That zzz you just heard was the air compressor for the self-leveling rear air suspension, re-leveling the back after my bouncing around in here. It's just super, super comfy. That's what this has going for it. It is 2 couches on 4 wheels. Climbing into the pilot house and settling down into the captain's seat of this vessel of a vehicle. Let's get into it. This is still simple GM stuff. You've got your window controls here, your mirror controls there, your door locks are right here. This controls your Twilight Sentinel, which is the auto dimming and auto on and off headlights. Marker lights are here, or headlights on and off here. Parking lights or marker lights are right here. That is the dimmer for your interior lights and your gauge cluster. Speaking of the gauge cluster, you have this little panel here that lets you change trip odometers, also fuel economy, instant, range left on the tank. Gauge info gives you, while they don't give you physical dials, you can get all of the information on the running status of the car right there. And I'm gonna be honest, this is the perfect vehicle to take if you want to go to Mexico, go visit Nogales, go to Rocky Point or Puerto Penasco or wherever. Push a button and it flips to kilometers an hour and full metric instrumentation. So you don't have to worry about speeding. And like, it's a good car to take down there. On the wheel here, you have radio controls, which no longer tie in because of this aftermarket dual DIN Bluetooth AM FM CD player up there. But what is most important, your cruise control still works, and I'll show you that in just a minute. For the rest of the physical gauges, you got your tach, you've got your speedo, fuel, and temp. Moving over here, when you get to go to driving, you got that 1980s action movie column shift, and here's something extra fun. The little button on the end, this isn't an overdrive off, this isn't a tow haul mode, it's a little faded. That's your traction control button right there. So someone somewhere in GM decided that they wanted to be able to party in this thing. Radio here, like I said, AM, FM, CD, Bluetooth, and auxiliary. I don't feel like Bluetoothing my personal cell phone to like 50 different cars a month as we go through inventory, so I run auxiliary line in. But down below that is your HVAC controls. It is simple, old school GM. How hot you want it, how hard you want it, and where you want it there. Down below, you got a little storage tray here. You've got ashtray, dual chargers there, and right down in the middle, someone bolted down an additional cup holder, coin tray, and CD storage that I'm using to hold my big Yeti. You do have a center console that is currently holding my other phones and some rags. Not pretty, but it works quite well, which again, theme of this car. One other thing, this is a true bench seat car, so that flips up. There is another seat belt, so you can fit 3 across, front and rear. So you and all your friends can pile in this thing and go do stuff. A really deep glove box in this, exactly what you would expect from an old GM car. You've got the finest plastic walnut trim, and then the auto dimming rear view mirror. This one wasn't opted with OnStar, so you got none of that remote connectivity stuff to worry about either. But yeah, simple but comfortable inside with nice frosty AC. Let's drive. In the parking garage, I got every window open and the HVAC turned completely off so you all can listen to how surprisingly quiet this thing is as it wafts through the garage. Also of note, a lot of GMs of this era, the rear windows only go down about halfway to prevent kids from climbing out the back windows. In case you were wondering, that is not a bug, that is a feature, and that is how it came from the factory. But I'm gonna be quiet as we just waft through here. .3800 is barely working. Actually, I'll give it a little throttle. Brakes. Yeah, we we put a lot of time and money into the suspension and all of the greasy bits underneath this. And if I don't say so myself, I think it really shows. But yeah, it's exactly what you'd expect from a big, squishy, mid-2000s GM sedan. It's quiet, it's comfy, and the 3800 does literally, you know, expends zero effort moving it around at low speeds. Front of the line out of the traffic light. Let us get up to speed here on the interstate. Just let that 3800 just build and build and build its momentum. There we go. Actually, slow it down for just a second because I got the gap. We're gonna dive over 2 lanes, set the cruise control in a good, proper, high-speed Southwestern highway cruise. 80 feels about right. That's just a touch below felonious speed. And yeah. For this thing being a now 21-year-old car, it is remarkably quiet at speed. It is exactly as squishy as you'd think. And honestly, it's a 3800 Series 2 that has been bulletproofed. It will sit here and do this until you get bored of owning the car. They just keep working. And honestly, this is a great car for somebody that just needs a workhorse, because that's what it is. All right, those of you that have seen these videos before know what time it is. HVAC is off, window is cracked, traction control is off. We're gonna do a quick 0 to 40 to 0 pull to show full acceleration and full ABS braking to make sure there's nothing hiding in the brakes, suspension, engine, or transmission under full accelerative and decelerative load. So let's let this old 3800 eat. 3, 2, 1. Just builds and builds and builds. Full ABS. Oh. Okay. Little bit of a nosedive there as those brakes grabbed, suspension caught up, ABS braking each wheel individually to make sure it stops straight and true. Did exactly what you're expecting it to do. Now that we're out here on the frontage road doing a slightly more chill drive, cruise is set at 50, RPMs are sitting at like 1300 RPM. That old 3800 is barely working to waft this thing down the road. Now, I didn't show it before as I was bombing down the highway, but these actually get remarkably good fuel economy for a big car. Like, get out on the highway, set the cruise between 70 and 75, and you'll be in the high 20s, tickling 30. It's just a really, really good powertrain from GM. Also, since I got a minute and we're just chilling here, I want to address a pretty common question that I know I'm going to get. Why should we buy this from you guys for like $3,000 when we could go on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and find somebody else's dead relative's Buick for $1,500 or $1,800? And that's true, you probably can. But to get it to the level that this is mechanically, you would spend more than the cost of this whole car. Because since we got this, wholesale parts alone are just under $1,500 invested in this car, and I haven't tallied up our mechanics' labor. So yeah, if you have the time, the tools, and the talent, you sure could. But if you're not willing to blow this thing apart in your driveway, you could not replicate the amount of mechanical work that we put into this for the cost that we are selling it. And that is the simple, cold math. Real quick, before we get back to the yard, suspension test on some really crappy stuff, because it's a big floaty car. Speed bump at 20, doesn't care. smaller speed bump. Like, yeah, you get some rattles. It's a GM dashboard from the mid-2000s. You hear it shaking against itself. But you know what you don't feel? The impact from the suspension in your butt. And it doesn't upset the geometry of the steering. It doesn't pull or do bump steer or any stuff like that. Like, you can hear things moving around in here. But the only clues that you're going over bad stuff is audible. You don't really feel it in your butt. And look, you don't see it in the wheel. Like, this is pretty torn up stuff. There's a manhole. Doesn't move. A remarkably dialed in car for the way that it looks. Its looks completely belie how composed and competent this thing is. It truly is an ugly but effective automobile. There you have it, everybody. Back at our lot, wrapping everything up on our ugly but effective, cheap and cheery 2005 Buick LeSabre. This is an inexpensive car. It is shoestring cheap motoring. And that's important. We live in a car-centric society. Everybody should be able to afford a way to get around that is air-conditioned, especially here in the desert. A lot of cars out there are cheap because they are mechanically deficient. This one is cheap because it is cosmetically deficient. And that is a huge, huge difference. We want you to take this thing and put 100,000 more miles and scars on this car. Make it your own. Enjoy it. Let it work for you, because it will do that until the day that you die. To check this thing out for yourself, take it for a rip, and experience the joy of 2 couches, 4 wheels, and an air conditioner, follow the link in the description below or call and text the number on screen to make an appointment. Until then, I've been Dylan. We'll see you soon.